and Madison County Clerk. I want to publicly thank our Get Out the Vote project, chaired by Gail Donnelly-Bader, which also includes Faye Taylor, John and Diane Herndon, Godfrey Trustee Virginia Wolf-Biley, Rosetta Brown, City of Alton, Alderman, and Ruth Mascow. In addition, I really want to thank all the candidates for participating in tonight's forum. State Senator Chris Lark, Representative Amy Ellick, candidate Joe Silkwood, and Madison County Clerk Debbie Ming Mendoza. I remember our last voters forum held outdoors during COVID a few years ago, and several of our candidates were sick. So I'm so grateful that we're inside our gym this evening and seem to be past the worst of COVID. We know that these candidates are extremely busy during election season, and we sincerely appreciate you giving your time to share your thoughts and positions and address questions from attendees this evening. In Madison County, we're lucky because there's competition for all three of these races, and the candidates are willing to put their names forward so that we all have choice at election time. The races this round include State Senate. The State Senate's the upper chamber of the Illinois General Assembly. Along with the House, it forms the legislative branch of the Illinois state government and works along with the governor to create laws, establish a state budget. Legislative authority and responsibilities of the State Senate include passing bills on public policy matters, setting levels for state spending, raising and lowering our taxes, and voting to uphold or override gubernatorial vetoes. The State Senate meets in the State Capitol building in Springfield, and there are currently 59 state senators, each representing roughly 213,000 people. The Illinois House of Reps is the lower chamber of the General Assembly and meets also in the Illinois State Capitol. Along with the Senate and the governor, it's vested with powers to make laws, come up with a state budget, act on federal constitutional amendments, and propose constitutional amendments to our state constitution. The Illinois House of Reps also holds the power to impeach Illinois office holders. The House under the current Constitution consists of 118 representatives elected from individual legislative districts for 2-year terms with no limit on terms. Districts represent roughly 108,000 people. Lawmakers must be at least 21 years and a resident of the district that they live in for at least 2 years. And I found it interesting today, I guess I don't know my history as much as I'd like, President Abraham Lincoln first began his career in politics in the Illinois House of Representatives. So thinking about these offices, I dug a little deeper today to what's the Illinois budget. So apparently, Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the state's fiscal 2023 budget on April 19. The grand total of all appropriations for 2023 is $182.7 billion, which was roughly 9% below the 2022 budget. So this is big business we're talking about for the State Senate and State House offices. The Madison County Clerk's Office also provides important services to customers in the Madison County Admin Building. As the chief election authority, the county clerk provides a voter and candidate service and administers all elections. We all know how important this is. The clerk's office maintains vital records of birth, marriage, and death, public filings, tax and real estate services, as well as recording all official meetings. At YWCA, our motto is your voice, your vote, and your future. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, and especially the candidates that are sharing their time with us this evening to express their views. So that's it. Welcome, everyone. Will the 4 candidates please step forward? Representative Ellick, Senator Chris Lark, Joe Silkwood, Madison County Clerk Debbie Ming Mendoza.
housekeeping business. You all were given, or most people were given an index card when you came in. This is just so if you have questions of the candidates, if you hold them up, write them out. If you hold them up, Faye will come around and pick them up from you. So tonight we're going to start with the county clerk's position, and we're very fortunate to have Debbie Mendoza here. So Ms. Mendoza, if you wanted to step up to the podium and you can talk about yourself a little bit, and we'll start with the questions after that.
Thank you. I'm also the recorder. In the 2020 election, December 1st, I became the Madison County Recorder, County Clerk. So some of my responsibilities also cover the recording of properties that are sold, properties where people file liens and mortgages, and just about any document that someone feels is necessary to record, my office takes care of that. Elections, I think that's why we're here right now. Y'all don't need to hear about what I record, do you? Elections. I wake up every morning trying to figure out and make sure how do I secure the election that's coming November 8th, 2022. The frightening part for me is bad actors that are out there. Frightening part for me is tripping and falling and letting you down on election day, or early voting that starts next Monday for all the sites around the county. We have been voting early through the county clerk's office for a couple of weeks now, and we're right at 900 people have voted. We have sent out approximately 13,000 vote-by-mail ballots. We have received approximately 3,500 of those back. So we are voting. The process is working, and right now I feel confident that everything will go well through November 8th. But the election's not over on November 8th, and the reason for that is vote by mail. Vote by mail, I have to wait an additional 14 days for a ballot to come in that was postmarked by November 8th. So the last day to count ballots will be at the end of that waiting period. I believe we're going to start processing vote-by-mail ballots in the very near future. All of that gets posted. The respective established parties will be notified of the dates that the election judges, not Debbie's office staff, but a Republican and Democrat election judge will open those certification envelopes, verify signatures, and cast that ballot for the individual voter who wished to vote by mail. What else keeps me up at night? Having election judges show up at 5 o'clock on November 8th, that keeps me awake a lot of nights. We have 191 precincts. We would love to have 5 judges in each of those precincts, but at this moment in time, about half of our Madison County precincts have 5 judges. I'm always in the market for I'm always hopeful that people will step up and want to serve their community, be part of the process. I always say to naysayers, the people that say, this is not right, you're not doing it right, it should be done this way, then come and work an election with me. See from the inside how elections work. And I welcome that. Sometimes people take me up on it, some people tell me to go jump in the lake. But fortunately in Edwardsville, there's not a lake close enough to the building that I could jump into. Because believe me, there are days that I would love to. But I love what I do. I love what I do. It's an honor to be that person that voters expect to have a ballot if they ask for it. Voters expect to be able to go to their polling place at 6 o'clock on election day and have judges there waiting to assist them in their God-given right to cast a ballot. It is my job to make sure that you have that opportunity to vote in a polling location that is free from harassment, that is free from intimidation, and that you have the opportunity to quietly sit at a booth or stand at a booth, whichever the case may be, and let your voice be heard through your vote. I don't know why I'm nervous, because I love to talk. When I found out that I was going to be first, thank you very much. I did not know that. Oh, now I get a sign that says stop. Oh, okay, a lot of questions. Let's go. Let's do it.
Candidates, you will have 2 minutes to answer each question. First question is, will you assert that Joe Biden won a free and fair election for the President of the United States in 2020?
In Madison County, President Biden did not win the election. In Madison County, President Trump did. But do I want to say, and I have faith in the people like me who take on this huge responsibility to provide fair elections. That's our job, that's what I do. I cannot talk for other county clerks or other Secretary of States, but I can talk for us. You have fair elections in your county. I lay my life down on that. Oh, no. It's just how I feel, and that's what I say to the girls every day. Let's get up, let's quit squawking at each other, and get this going.
Thank you. The next question. Do you believe in maintaining, at a minimum, current levels of poll access and voter registration opportunities? And do you see ways of expanding poll access and voter registration opportunities? If so, what are they?
Poll access. I need to make sure I understand the question. Poll access. There are 191 polling locations. There are 10 early voting sites, and you can request a vote by mail up to the Thursday prior to the election. Do I maintain the right for people to have that and make sure that that's accessible to them? Absolutely. That's my job. Voter registration, you can go online. I do not know how easier it can be for an individual who wants to vote to go online and register. If there's an issue with your registration that you've done online, we contact you and we work through it so that you have a right. You took the time to try to register. I'm going to make sure that you get to do that if you're eligible. So there are precinct committeemen, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. There are, the YWCA has registration. The YMCA has registrars. People from churches have deputy registrars. You can register at a library. You can register at SIU. You can register at Lewis and Clark. You can register right now if you're not. You can come to me. Starting next Monday, you can go to any early voting site and register and vote. That's called grace registration. As long as you have 2 forms of ID. You must be 18 by November 8th. You must live in the home in which you're registering for 30 days. You must be a U.S. citizen. 10 seconds, okay. I'm sorry, I'd love to talk.
What do you think is the most important role your office provides to county government?
The county clerk's office provides many important roles, not just election. The county clerk's office is responsible for calculating your tax rate for your tax bills. Every jurisdiction in Madison County that collects tax dollars files a levy and a budget with the county clerk. And during the tax extension, which is coming up, by the way, during tax extension, we calculate the tax rate that from you, from the assessment of your home, my job is to divide that out to all the different little taxing districts that want a piece of that. Schools, county, road and bridge, township, villages, libraries, parks, police, fire departments, sewers, drainage. I have to calculate those rates. The next most important thing in my mind, besides elections and besides tax extension, is marriages. I get to watch couples come into our counter every day and ask to get a marriage license. The brides are always smiling, just like you are, sweetheart. They're so happy. And the groom has always got their head down. And we have to ask the question, are you sure you want to do this? And the bride always says, of course he does. But we have to ask, because if you're under any kind of duress, and usually the young gentleman is sweating by that time too. But that's one of our happiest moments. And to see a new parents come into the county clerk's office to get their baby's birth certificate, that is a teary moment because they're so proud to show that baby off. And I work in the county clerk's office with 18 women, and not one of us doesn't go to that counter and take a peek at that beautiful little baby. We try to hand out toys to the older children, and we got these clappers that we give, and just so that when they get back into their car seat in the car, they can hit mom and dad in the back of the head with it. We take pride in that. I'm sorry.
The next question you may have answered a little bit already, but I'll ask this: what is your office doing, or what will you do? What will you do to ensure that everyone who wants to vote has the ability and the opportunity to vote?
That's my job. If you have the minimum qualification and you have a desire to vote, that's my job to make sure that you have that opportunity. My job is to make sure that you have a place that you can register. My job is to make sure that there's a polling location or an early voting site or a vote by mail opportunity for you, and I'll make sure you get a ballot. I can't make sure that it gets back to me. That's on you. That's your responsibility. But together we'll work to make sure your ballot gets cast. Can I say one more thing about the recorder's office before the next question? I have a minute and 30 seconds. I want you to know that when I became recorder in December 1st of 2020, for the 21-22 budget, I removed over 60% of the recorder's office's budget off of the general fund and off of your tax bill. I don't think anybody knows that, but that's what happened. We generate a lot of money through fees from subscribers who want to see those property record cards, and they pay for that. And so my recorder's office operates from the automation fund and not off the backs of the taxpayers. It is my goal to remove some of the burden of the taxpayer from the county clerk's office in the same respect through marriage, birth, death records, by putting all of that online. The recorder and the county clerk is now on the same software platform, so that we'll be able to let you sit at your kitchen table and ask and request documents that you do not have to come into the county clerk's office or recorder's office any longer to receive. Thank you. And I talked. I didn't even take a breath.
Do you have any ideas of how to increase voter turnout?
Other than knocking on every person's door, which is what I feel like I've done in the last 4 months, is knock on every door in Madison County. It's frightening to think that there are people out there right now sitting at home watching the television, seeing all of those political commercials on TV, and still do not know that there's an election on November the 8th. We have a voter's guide that we put together, and it's in every newspaper. It's online. That young lady is holding one up. That gives you every piece of information that you would want about this election except candidate profiles. And I don't think any of these candidates would want me writing their profile. But I try to give you as much information to make people want to get out and vote. But every election is important, not just the presidential. Have any of y'all met the president? I've never met a president, but that's the most important election to people. The most important election in my mind is these people right here. The next most important election is coming up next April, by the way, in 2023. School board members, village trustees, libraries, those people get the largest chunk of your property taxes, and turnout is somewhere countywide around 11–12%. And they take the largest piece of your property taxes. The county gets what? 8 cents for every dollar. 30 seconds. I am so nervous. Are you nervous? I am so nervous.
Next question, what is the current makeup of your office with regard to race and gender?
Well, of course, there's a Hispanic. Me. No, I'm just married to a Mexican. I'm actually American Indian and Irish German. My dad's a Cherokee Indian from the Mississippi reservations. But enough about me. I do have African American employees. I have the majority of the office is made up of women. And I will admit, because anybody can come to the office and find out, I have 3 men, 4 men, well, 3.5 men. I share him with another office. But they all work downstairs in the basement. You know, they tend not to want to be part of the girls' stuff. But they're important. They're all important. I have 11 employees in the recorder's office and 18 employees in the county clerk. We are on different floors, and it's very difficult sometimes to navigate those 2 separate offices, but we're a team. And like any team, we squabble. Like any family, we squabble. But when it comes down to it, we've got each other's back, and we're happy about that.
Thank you. And your last question, why should people vote for you instead of your opponent?
Well, I don't know my opponent, do you? So, let me say this. I have the experience, the qualification. I will have been, by November, I'm trying to do the math in my head, but this is either going to be my 14th or my 15th election being responsible for. And when there's issues, we catch them. When there's issues that require reporting to law enforcement, we do that. I do my job, and I love doing my job. That's why I'm asking you, please let me continue. Please let me continue on track to improve. When somebody says I have a perfect office, it might be for a moment that it's perfect, but technology changes every day. Cybersecurity issues change every day. And it's my promise and my hope and my desire to be allowed to keep up with those changes, keep the office safe, keep the recorder doing what it does, and not having to worry about you adding taxes onto your property tax bill every day. And let me continue to do that. And please, I ask for that support.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now I would like to ask our candidates for State House District 111. Am I right? Okay. We'll start with Representative Alec. If you just want to come up and say, you have 3 minutes just to tell about yourself. And then Mr. Silkwood, you'll have your 3 minutes, and then we'll start with our questions.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to be able to see over a podium.
We often have trouble that the podiums are really high, so I'm really glad that I can see over the podium and see your smiling faces. Thank you for having us here tonight. I was one of those candidates that was quarantined due to a COVID exposure 2 years ago, so I made it my mission to make sure that I could come back and be here tonight, so I'm so glad it worked out. It's a great opportunity to talk to voters, and I appreciate you all being here. My name is Amy Ellick. I am the current state representative for the 111th Legislative District. I was first elected in November 2020, so I'm in my first term. I took office in January of 2021, so it hasn't been 2 years quite yet. I am a proud mom of 2 wonderful kids, and I've been married to my husband Don for 25 years this year, so I'm very proud of my family. I grew up in Alton Godfrey, came back home after graduating from the University of Illinois. I got my degree in accounting and came back home, and I have been a certified public accountant for the last 27 years. 27 years, yeah. Here in our community, and I'm proud of my career as a CPA. As a CPA, I think I'm uniquely qualified to pursue and understand better economic policies for the state of Illinois. So that is a lot of what drove me to run for this office 2 years ago. Like many of you, I've been frustrated for many years with the state's financial mismanagement, our high taxes, the corruption cases that just keep continuing on all the time. So my first priority as state representative is to support the people and the jobs here in the Metro East, and I do that in a couple different ways. One is with my votes in Springfield, but also with the advocacy for the region that I do throughout the state all the time. And I'll continue to do that. Right now, with the highest inflation that we've had in decades, I think we have to be laser focused on where state policy is hurting families and small businesses, and we have to correct that. So I will continue to work on things that make a difference in families' lives. One of my favorite ways, I guess, that I support the people of the 111th district is with our work in the district office. My state office is in Alton Square Mall Drive, but not in the mall. It's behind Office Depot and Captain D's in that area. Try to be very accessible, available to constituents, and I also have been I promised that I would, and I've continued to make sure that people know what a state rep does, what I'm working on, and I do that in various ways by communicating through the mail. I do op-ed write-ups in the Telegraph and RiverBender that print those, and I'm excited when they do that. I always like to read it again. But most importantly is helping people in the district office with the issues that matter to them. And it may seem small to one person, but what is small to one person may be really, really important to another person. So anybody that calls my office, you know, if you've called, we would never ask you if you're a Democrat or Republican, because it doesn't matter, and we'll help you no matter what, and we will not, this is a state office, and we do those functions for everybody that calls, and that is frankly the best part of the job. So it's very gratifying to be able to help people with issues. The other thing that I always enjoy doing is just listening to the concerns that people have. I'll continue to do that, and it's really an honor to serve. I would echo what Debbie said. It is very, very much an honor to serve the people of the state of Illinois, especially the people right here in my community, and I appreciate your time tonight, and she's telling me to stop. Perfect. So thank you. I'll await your questions. Thanks.
Thank you. I've never noticed that the podium was short before. So, my name is Joe Soapwood. I live in East Alton, Illinois. I was born and raised there. I attended East Alton River High School. My dad was a steel worker at McLeod. He was one of those many that came up in the 1950s to find work in this area. Him and his brothers came up. They were coal miners down in southern Illinois. And they came up on a Saturday morning, and they all got jobs. They ended up working until they died or retired. And that's how I ended up in East Alton, Illinois. When I was 15 years old, my dad passed away. I had a heart attack at work, and my mom was disabled. So I started working when I was 15, and it taught me a lot about how tough things can be. And I think it started me along the way of being a man a little bit quicker than I wanted to be. My goal was to be a high school graduate. My mom and dad both had 8th grade educations, and that's what they wanted from me. And I think I would have done that, and I did do that. And I probably would have stopped there, but it just so happened I could throw a baseball, which was a great asset for me until I was in my mid-20s and my elbow hurt. But it got me a college education. So I went to Lewis and Clark College, got an associate's degree there, went to SIU, and got a bachelor's degree in education. And then I was coaching some baseball there in the state, and got a master's degree in public administration and policy analysis. And I didn't know at the time that was going to be the degree that kind of drove my career. I ended up going to East Alton back home. Was the park director. That was the job that was open. I did that for a few years. And then the job as the treasurer, city administrator opened up, and I did that for 16 years. As part of that job, my job was the administrator for the village. We don't have a city manager form of government. So the city administrator, basically everybody reports to them. You make sure that your road projects are done. You work on economic development. You work on making sure your law enforcement has the tools that they need to keep the community safe. And you make sure your fire department has the tools they need to keep the community safe. So you work in all aspects of local government. I love local government. I did it for a long time. As a matter of fact, I retired in 2015 as treasurer. 30 seconds, okay. So I was asked to run for mayor, so I did. I was mayor for 6 years and then stepped down. And at the time I said I was done with local government. I am. I think 22 years at City Hall was long enough. I was happily retired and was asked by local leaders to run for state representative because we are frustrated, as Amy is, that Southern Illinois gets the short end of the stick. And we want somebody to go to Springfield and be a loud voice for this area. And that's what I intend to do. So, thank you.
Before we get started, just real quick, if you've got questions, just hold them up, and our volunteers will come and take them for you. And Ms. Mendoza, before you leave, somebody had a question for you. We'll get it later, but whoever had a question, we'll get to it. What we did last time when we found it was fair is to alternate who goes first. Both candidates answer both questions, or both candidates answer each question as we go. So Representative Alec will answer the question, and then Mr. Silkwood, and then on the next time Mr. Silkwood would go first, and then Ms. Alec. So that way, whoever has 2 extra minutes to think about their answer, it kind of spreads it out.
So the first question, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act was signed into law by Governor Pritzker a little over a year ago on September 15th of 2021. It provides $80 million a year for the workforce and contractor development programs located in workforce hubs, which are primarily black and brown communities or communities which have historically faced economic and environmental barriers. So the Downstate Caucus of the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition successfully fought to get 2 downstate hubs, one of which includes Alton. As we were left behind in the earlier energy policy, we need our local elected officials to make sure municipalities, community groups, and local organizations know about these grants and how to access them. What steps will you take to make sure our district gets the benefit of this program?
Sure. I get an email every Friday from the state agencies that are releasing new grant funding opportunities, and then I send those out to the various municipalities, nonprofits, organizations within the district that I think can benefit from this. We often have people call the district office asking about various grant opportunities, and I and my staff search high and low for any opportunity that's available to them. And that's part of the job, and again, it's very enjoyable. I also support when people do submit grants, and if anybody's out there submitting grants, our office can write a letter of support for that grant to make sure that whoever's reviewing the grant knows
Yes, please.
So the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act was signed into law by Governor Pritzker a little over a year ago on September 15, 2021. So it provides $80 million a year for workforce and contractor development programs located in workforce hubs, which are primarily black and brown communities or communities which have historically faced economic and environmental barriers. The Downstate Caucus of the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition successfully fought to get 2 downstate hubs, one of which includes Alton. As we were left behind in earlier energy policy, we need our local elected officials to make sure that municipalities, community groups, and local organizations know about these grants and how to access them. What steps will you take to make sure our district gets the benefit of this program?
Thank you. There's a lot of ways I like face-to-face meetings. I like visiting with local leaders, whether it's municipal leaders, township leaders, county leaders, or school boards. And we've got to get information to people on a human level. Also, we want to use the email programs. We should have a robust internet program with a website. We should have access to the kids too, and the workers. Whether we're going to have displaced workers, but they need to have options too. I'm a product of good government policy. When I went to school, I used a Pell Grant to help pay for my school. I'd like to tell people that my baseball was good enough, but it wasn't. So I did use different kinds of sources. We have a tremendous vacuum of good jobs that are available that we need to start the vocational programs with and retrain people or train people to use these high-paying jobs in our area. So I think it's a robust effort done through face-to-face, internet, mailings, whatever resources that are available to try to get the word out. Thank you.
Mr. Silkwood, you can stay at the microphone. Do you support the Juneteenth federal holiday?
I'm sorry.
Do you support the Juneteenth federal holiday?
Yeah, I think the Juneteenth is obviously a huge part of our history, our nation's history. It seems like a chance to celebrate those type of events or something that brings community pride. It brings communities together. We can celebrate together. It's something to be proud of. This nation has done a lot of really good things in our time. I'm distressed on a daily basis at the internet and the cable news and all the ways that we try to tear down our own government. I think celebrations like June 19th celebrate. It's important for the African American community. It's important for all of us to recognize such a momentous day.
Thank you.
I also support Juneteenth and voted yes to make Juneteenth a state holiday, which I think last year was the first, would have been the first year for that. So definitely support that, and I think that's something that wasn't necessarily taught when I was in school, so I've actually enjoyed learning more about the history of the event and leading up to that, so yes.
You can stay. Next one, yes. The state of Illinois has its first infrastructure bill in a decade, and there are federal funds for infrastructure maintenance and improvements. What do you see as infrastructure priorities for our district, and how would you make sure these priorities become reality?
Roads, and more roads. I think we have a lot of disrepair in our roads and bridges, making sure that they're safe, making sure that the shoulders are accessible, and safety on the roads is absolutely so important. I drive on a lot of roads throughout the district, and I know that we can do better, so that would be my first priority for infrastructure funds would be the roads and bridges.
So infrastructure. When I was a mayor, that's one of the most important things we do. I was able to bring in millions of dollars of federal funding to do a lot of road projects, you'll never get done doing road projects. And as every mayor around here will tell you, there's never enough money to do them the way you want to. So roads are on the top of the list. We also have an aging district. Our district is the bulk of it is in Alton, Wood River Township, and Grant City. All communities that were developed first. And the reason that they were developed first was it's the best location in the area, period. The river gives it as an asset that most of the country would love to have, and we have right here in our home. But the downside to being first is we have a lot of aging water lines, we have aging wastewater, we have stormwater that wasn't maybe properly, or not properly, but at the time wasn't sufficient now for what we get. So we've got a lot of issues under the ground too that we have to take care of. So there's plenty of infrastructure work that has to be done. It's very expensive, and without the help of state funds, without the help of federal funds, we can't do it alone. The municipalities cannot afford. And I can tell you as a mayor and as a treasurer, we try to tap into as many state and federal funds as we can. And as a state legislator, I want to try to make sure that there are funds available for those necessary infrastructure, including roads and water and wastewater and stormwater. Thank you.
You may stay at the mic.
And I'm getting ahead.
Will you assert that Joe Biden won a fair and free election for the President of the United States in 2020?
Yes. Here's the thing. Yes, this is a short answer and the correct answer. But having said that, there were dozens of court challenges, which was a candidate's legal right to do. And after dozens of court challenges, it was apparent that there wasn't any fraud that impacted the race. So absolutely, Joe Biden is our president. Any candidate, any elected official or candidate that maintains the big lie is doing a tremendous disservice to all of us. The credibility of government is already hard enough. People have an inherent mistrust for people. And I can tell you, I've been doing this a long time. And not all, but most of the people that are involved in government are good people that want to do good things. They really are. Now, do we have some screwballs that mess up? We do. We need to expose them. We need to punish them. We need to get rid of them as elected officials. But we're losing the confidence of our public when we perpetuate lies. And I will call it out as a representative. I will call it out whether it's a Democrat or a Republican. It doesn't matter to me. It hurts us all when we do that. So the short answer was yes. Thank you.
My answer is yes.
You may stay at the mic. Do you maintain a diverse staff with regard to age, race, and gender?
I have a very small staff in my state office. I have Tina and I have Emma. Emma's a college student at Wilson Clark. We just lost Delaney because she left to go to law school. Very proud of her. She was from Taiwanese descent. I'm proud of the women in my office. They do a phenomenal job, and they were specifically hired to handle customer service in the office, and I think they do a great job.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure you asked there, so.
The question is, will you maintain a diverse staff with regard to age, race, and gender?
Yes. I think that any elected official staff should reflect the district. I think people should feel comfortable anytime they're interacting with any government office. They should feel like that they belong in some fashion. And one of the ways you do that is to have a diverse staff. I can't maintain it. I don't have one yet. But when I get one, I will maintain a diverse staff. Thank you.
Next question. Industry is changing before our eyes, consolidating, modernizing, in some cases disappearing entirely. This includes mining and steel industries. Do you believe that we should use our resources to try to maintain the status quo, or do you favor using our resources to move workers into jobs of the present and the future? If the former, please state what role you think government should take in attempting to maintain the status quo. If the latter, what should the state do to support workers whose jobs are disappearing through no fault of their own, and young people just now entering the workforce?
Okay, that's a good question. As mayor of East Alton, I had an ammunition plant, a brass mill, and a power plant. What I will say is, I don't think it's an either or. I think that we have tremendous industrial jobs in this district, whether it's the steel mills, whether it's the refinery, whether it's ammunition, whether it's brass. So I think as we move forward into the new world or the new era, we want to try to draw those type of businesses into our area too. But I think we have to be careful that we're ready for that. So I think it's a twofold answer. We have to try to help the businesses that are here. We have to make sure that they're following regulations and that they're doing the things they're supposed to do to provide quality living for the residents and for their employees, but they're very necessary. The economic engine that is Phillips 66, the economic engine that is Olin, Velan, Alton Steel, Granite City Steel, our communities can't survive without these industries right now. Now, what we have to do also is, we want to try to help those folks, but we also want to try to bring in the new businesses in the future. You know, if it's green energy or whatever it is, we want to start bringing in new types of businesses, and we want to train our young people on those. We might want to cross-train those that exist there. So I don't think it's an either or. I think that's what gets us hung up, is we're not going to go from gas-powered cars to electric overnight. We have to do it gradually. We're going to get there, but it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not for the best of our district. I will never vote for something that impacts our district in a negative way. We need both. Stop. I got you.
Sure, you bet. Industry is changing before our eyes, consolidating, modernizing, and in some cases disappearing entirely. This includes mining and steel industries. Do you believe that we should use our resources to try to maintain the status quo, or do you favor using our resources to move workers into jobs of the present and the future? If the former, please state what role you think government should take in attempting to maintain the status quo. If the latter, what should the state do to support workers whose jobs are disappearing through no fault of their own, and young people just now entering the workforce?
I think status quo is a myth, because everything is always changing, and you have to adapt to the change. But in the position that I'm in, I have to look at the people that are working in the industries that state and federal policy are specifically targeting, and that makes up a huge, huge portion of workers here in the district. So, yes, change is always occurring. I think it's always occurring, and we have to make sure that we are creating policies that bring those new industries right here. We have wonderful resources here, wonderful people, wonderful workers, and we can absolutely adapt and change, and we have to do that. But we also have to make sure that the people that are in those jobs, as you said, through no fault of their own, they shouldn't be targeted by state and federal policy. And the myth that, well, we'll just put them in a new industry, that's not so easy. That takes time, it takes a lot of training, and frankly, a lot of people will move out of the district if there's no job to support their family on. So that is a balance that we as state legislators have to look at all the time when we're voting. What does this do for the people of the district? And I'll continue to evaluate legislation as it comes along and fight for the people of this district every time. You may stay with me.
Final question, except for the audience questions, of course. Do you support the Workers' Rights Amendment, or do you support right-to-work laws?
I do not support right-to-work laws. I did vote no to put the Workers' Rights Amendment on the ballot, and I'll explain why. I'm absolutely for workers, and I'm supported by various unions in this election. State policy should not create problems that we don't have. We should be fixing and solving problems. There are many issues with the language of the constitutional amendment that's on your ballot that I have concerns with. We discussed those concerns when we were debating this on the floor and in committee. There's language in there that states that the General Assembly can never interfere with collective bargaining, and that's fine. However, we are consistently asked in the General Assembly to tweak some things or to help on things. And so that loses the ability of workers to come and say, hey, we need some help here from the General Assembly on this. This is not just my view. That I noticed the Chicago Tribune is recommending a no vote. A couple other newspapers, when they're giving endorsements, are recommending a no vote. I fear that it's going to cause confusion and a series of lawsuits along the way that's not going to help anybody in the state, and it's going to cause confusion. Right to work, I don't think is right for Illinois. We have a strong backbone of union organizations here, and I think that will always continue, so I don't see that coming before us in the General Assembly, but I do support workers, and I'm also supported by workers.
I support the workers' right amendment. I'll vote yes on it. I think that to put that in the Constitution, that our state is ensure that people have the right to negotiate for better wages and better benefits is critical. It keeps us separate from some of the other states that seem to be racing to the bottom. I talked to numerous constituents in the 111, and I think overwhelmingly people are in favor of it in our district. This is a blue collar district, and it only seems right to me that the right to have it on the ballot, first of all, is a good idea, and I believe it's a good idea. Thank you.
These are questions from the audience. Okay. So, here.
First question is, how are you planning on combating misinformation? The Illinois Safety Act has been a target for many campaigns. How will you ensure that correct information is circulated?
Okay, so I'm clear on the question. It's just, are we talking about specifically the Safety Act, or are we talking about just misinformation in general?
I think both. Misinformation in general, and then how it relates to the safety.
So the misinformation, it's going to be incumbent upon politicians to make sure that correct information is available. We talked about a little bit earlier about using different means, whether it's newsletters, whether it's robust internet pages, whether it's face-to-face. I think it's important that elected officials call out whether it's members of their own party or if it's a member of another party, when they're passing along false or misleading or dangerous information. We seem to be having a lot of that. I think it would be better if Democrats called out Democrats that did it and Republicans called out Republicans. I think it would give it more credibility. Too many times, if the Democrats see the Republicans saying something that's not true, it just looks like politics. Or if the Republicans say the Democrats aren't doing something, it looks like politics. What we need is we need to get back to a time where we can be honest with our own parties and make sure that the facts are out there. We don't have to agree, but we should be looking at the same facts. As far as the safety, that was such a large document done in a way that I wouldn't have done it. I would not have voted for that because of the way it was done. More than anything, I think that once again it causes mistrust in our institution when you pass something in the middle of the night. And I think it's incumbent upon elected officials to make sure that they're giving out proper information and correct information. I mean, that act alone, you know, as I was walking in the streets, you could go from household to household and get a different interpretation of what the bill was about. And that means we're not communicating well what the truth is of the matter. So I think one of the things that we can do as legislators is we have to talk to the stakeholders. If we're going to talk about education items, we'll be talking to schools and teachers. If we're going to talk about criminal justice, we have to talk to state's attorneys and sheriffs and police chiefs. Thank you.
First, let me address the Safety Act. When 100 out of 102 state's attorneys throughout the state of Illinois are begging and pleading to please slow down and stop and revisit this law, we have to listen. So when there's experts in the field, there's attorneys, there's public defenders, there's a variety of people in the criminal justice system saying, we're having trouble with this, we're implementing this, we need to listen to that. We need to take that seriously and hear their suggestions and hear their discussions and listen with open ears to listen to how this is going to affect life in Illinois. So that's the first thing. Misinformation in general. I think it's very important that candidates and politicians are responsible with their language. Inflated language meant to shock people leads to problems. It wastes time of our police agencies. Just about 10 days ago, I had a threat that 2 different police agencies had to investigate because of misleading and extremist language online that was directed at me. We have a responsibility to say what we mean and to mean what we say. We don't have to make it more than what it is. They can do that at the national level. They have a really big voice. We don't have to do that on Facebook. We don't have to put things out there that are going to incite people to make threats and to bully others. So that is on us, all of us up here, any politician running for office, to be responsible with the language that they use. I stay at home. By the time we get to the last question, I'll remember to stay up here.
So we have a question just for you, Representative Alec. Why did you choose to run in the 111th instead of the district that you live in?
Sure. So this was a redistricting year. So all of the lines of all of the districts throughout the state were redrawn. I have lived in the 111th district my entire 49 years of my life, except for those 4 years that I was at the University of Illinois. I work here. My kids have gone to school here. This is the area that I am so proud to represent and honored to represent. And those backroom deals and those dead-of-night deals that occur in the Capitol just so happen to draw my house right out of the district. I will be moving after the election because I am committed to this district 110%, and that is something that is not unusual in a redistricting year, and any thoughts that it might be unusual are misinformation, I guess. Thanks.
You may stay. My granddaughter is a public school teacher. What are you doing to help teachers and schools in the area?
Very good. I'm supported by the Illinois Education Association because of the views that I have on education, and as a member of the Education Curriculum and Policy Committee in the State House. Teachers are, they're heroes to me, and they do very, very difficult work. My sister's a kindergarten teacher, and I could regale you with stories of things that she has worked on and dealt with over her career. One of the things that we did, though, is we know there's a lack of substitute teachers. We passed legislation to allow retired teachers to come back and work additional hours so that we could alleviate some of the demand that so many schools are facing with the lack of substitute teachers. So that's one way that we worked with the unions to try to find a workable solution to make sure that we're not overtaxing our teachers. They still need time for professional development and time off, and they get sick too, just like the little ones. So I think that that's one great way that we were able to support teachers in schools and try to make sure that we have wonderful staff in the schools at all times.
Do you need me to repeat?
No, I just want to make sure I was getting the same question. So,
Yes.
Okay, so I'm proud to be endorsed by the Illinois Federation of Teachers. I think I had 12 years of experience as a public school board member. And one of the things that, one of the ways we can help public school teachers is to talk to them and ask them what they need. We have an alarming shortage in people who want to go into be teachers. Part of that is because changes that was made in their retirement. Some of it's because of the working environment. One of the concerns that I have, and we've seen it right here locally, is when I was on the school board back in the 90s, late 90s, it was a nonpartisan group of men and women whose focus was on what was good for the children. I see now where partisanship is starting to take hold, whether it's at Lewis and Clark College or in some of the other local school boards. There was a reason why certain parts of government were set up to be nonpartisan, school boards being a perfect example, municipalities being another example, townships being another example. We do not need those to become more partisan. We need less partisanship, especially at our local level. We need more people involved because they want to do what's in the best interest of the kids. If we don't think that teachers are noticing this, look at the turnover rate at Lewis and Clark College in the last couple of years. Look at the turnover rate at our local schools. So we have to show support. It has to start at the school board level. We have to get the partisanship out of there. We need to vote. Debbie talked about earlier. It's embarrassing to me that we get 10 to 12% vote in municipal elections in the spring. That's something that we as citizens have to do better. Thank you.
And this is a kind of a question related to what we were just talking about too. How do we get to a point where maximum effort is applied to important issues and problem solving, and less time and resources are wasted on partisan politics and corruption?
That's a great question. People are frustrated, and I think that's one of the reasons why I was asked to run, is because as a mayor, I had members of my board that I knew were Republicans and I knew were Democrats, but we never made a decision the whole time I was mayor based on a partisan ideology. We did what we thought was the right thing to do. Do we need to fix the road or do we need to fix the playground? I mean, those are the kind of decisions you have to make every day. It's not a Republican or Democratic thing. I think it's incumbent upon the leaders of each party to make sure that they don't get involved in the government agencies that are meant to be nonpartisan. If you see a party that's trying to win a municipal election, or if you see a party that's trying to put their thumb on the scale of a school board, that has to be a red flag for everybody. It's not going to turn out the way you think it's going to turn out. It's going to cause a divisive community, and we're starting to see that in the 111 already. And I'll speak out against that every chance I get. Thank you.
Sure. How do we get to a point where maximum effort is applied to important issues and problem solving, and less time and resources are wasted on partisan politics and corruption?
Well, I think it's time that we stop debating everything on Facebook and social media. It doesn't change any minds. It gets really divisive. People lose friends and damage relationships with family members. And I really think that's the best way. That's incumbent on everybody to do that. We cannot be fanning the flames too as politicians. That's not the way I legislate. I don't drop bombs and walk away and let let people pick up the pieces. I try to be honest with people, and I really think that if we had more of that, we'd be in a much better place.
How do you support constituents of different religious beliefs that are different from yours, for example, who aren't Christian?
The best way is to listen and learn about their views and about their religious upbringing, go to their churches. I've been invited to many different churches of different faiths, enjoy it every single time. It's a great way to just learn about other cultures and communities that maybe you didn't have when you were growing up. I led a wonderful life, and my mom's here too, so I'm not just saying that because she's here, but I was very blessed, but I also have to know that not everyone has grown up like me, and I try to listen and make sure that I'm just being available and accessible to people and open to hearing about how they've been raised.
Thank you.
I think that's a good question, and one of the real challenges for elected officials, when we are a mayor, or when we're a state rep, or when we're a senator, we are everybody's mayor, we're everybody's rep, we're everybody's state senator, and regardless of what religion they are, regardless if they have a religion at all, in the eyes of the government, we have to treat everybody the same. And we're talking about religion, but it also goes to race. It also goes to sexual preferences. It goes to everything. We're the government. Our job is to treat everybody equally in the eyes of the government. So I think we all have different backgrounds. I just think we have to be respectful of the differences we have, and as a government leader, we have to understand that our job is not to represent the R's or the D's or the African Americans or the whites or the atheists or the Catholics, or we have to represent everybody. Thank you.
Let me stay one more question.
This last question is related to one of our first ones. Do you think that a candidate should be able to run and then move if they win?
Well, that's a loaded question. Yeah, that's what the rules provide. I think that we all play by the rules. I think every 10 years there's a system in place. I would have preferred Amy run in the 100 because I know her, and that would have been better for me. But she chose to run here because she can, and I think that's okay because that's what the rules provide. Just like every 10 years, their mapping gets changed. And, no matter where you're at, somebody has a complaint about the map. If it's a county board map in Madison County, or if it's the legislative map here, or if it's in another state. We go through this every 10 years. I guess because I'm old, I've just been through it so many times that, I just kind of, okay, that's just normal. That's what we do every 10 years. But as long as we're following the rules, I don't have a problem with that. No.
I guess the question is, should the rule be changed?
Should the rule be changed? I think, for me, I think that you should live in the district that you're running in. But that's not what the rule is. So, and that sounds self-serving for me to say that under this situation. But I know that, I don't think the people of Alton want me to run for mayor of Alton. I live in East Alton. So I think that's something that can be looked at, but I also understand that the rule was probably put in place for a reason at the time. I haven't really given it much thought, to be honest with you. I would prefer that all of our candidates live in the district. I don't think you should run for senator of Pennsylvania if you don't live in Pennsylvania or something. We just get that all over the country, not just here. So, but yeah, I prefer that they live there. If that's the rule, that's what everybody would play by. So, thanks.
I think you already know my answer to this. to do it early. So those are the rules, and that's, again, I'm honored to represent the people of the 111th now, where I've lived my entire life, and I hope to continue to do that.
We got one question for the county clerk. I'm sorry. We're done now with state representatives. Thank you so much.
The questioner wants to know when are early voting and vote by mail ballots counted?
Well, early voting are tabulated. We're casting ballots every day at early voting sites, starting on the 24th, and we have been for the last couple of weeks with the county clerk's office in Edwardsville. Vote by mail ballots can be processed by state statute 15 days prior to the election, but there is no tabulating of results until 7 p.m. on election night. Does that answer? Okay. That was easy. I was worried. It was gonna be hard.
Okay, so thank you very much. It was really, your answers were good, and I was really happy to have a chance to listen to both of you. And now we'll get a chance to listen to Chris Tharp, who is our state senator for the 56th district. I was just going to say also, Erica Harris had initially said she would come, but then for some reason she changed her mind. So when we were advertising that we were going to have that candidate, we actually thought that we would have her here, but she chose not to come. So Mr. Tharp, Senator Tharp, gets the whole half hour.
You want 3 minutes to tell us about yourself?
Absolutely. So first off, thank you, the YWCA, to everybody in attendance tonight, and for the candidates that did come tonight. It's not easy to get up here and to do this, and I think people in Illinois, people in our district deserve to have candidates that are willing to show up. So thank you for that, and everybody's here this evening. I am Chris Tharp. I am the senator for the 56th Legislative District. I was appointed in July. My predecessor was appointed to be the next U.S. Attorney for the Southern District. I filled the seat upon that appointment. A little bit about me. I'm a police officer. That's what I've done for 25 years. I'm a captain at the Madison County Sheriff's Office. I'm an FBI Academy graduate. I'm a deputy commander in the Major Case Squad at Greater St. Louis. I command murder investigations. That's what I've done throughout the Metro East for well over a decade. I've been a member of that squad for nearly 20 years. In addition, I am a crisis negotiator for a tactical response team that covers 11 counties. So whenever the stakes are high and negotiation has to occur to try to de-escalate a situation, I'm the person that's called in. Currently, I am the jail administrator for the Madison County Jail. So I oversee the jail. Our census hovers typically between 300 or 400 people, and I've got 60 employees at the jail. A little bit about me, my background, which I think will shed some light as far as who I am as a legislator. I was born and raised in Wood River, born at Wood River Hospital, to a single mom. Teresa was here tonight. Mom, thanks for being here. My family knows what struggle is, and I want to talk about perspective first and foremost. My mom worked extraordinarily hard to raise my brother and I, but times were lean. So there were times that we were relying on government help. We were on food stamps for a while. We were on the medical card. And I'm going to tell you why that's important, because it's perspective. You need someone in Springfield that has that perspective, that can advocate for families. There's a lot of families in our district right now that are struggling, and it's important that our lawmakers understand that perspective. I was the first person in my immediate family to put himself through college. I was an unconventional student. I was an adult learner. I was able to go on and get my associate degree, my undergrad, and my graduate degree. Very fortunate to do that. I'm very blessed to have been able to do that. I am the benefactor of people who have invested in me. And, people ask me all the time, are you excited about your journey and where it's taken you, and I am extraordinarily excited and proud. But the weight of the responsibility is heavy. I very much want to represent this district in a way that makes everyone proud. I want to be an advocate for this district, and I'm many things. Yes, I'm a police officer, but I'm also a dad. I'm also a union member. I'm a cancer survivor, and I'm a lifelong resident of this district. And that perspective is something we need in Springfield. We need a voice that will always zealously advocate for Southern Illinois values. And that's what I have been doing, and that's what I intend to do moving forward.
First question. Will you assert that Joe Biden won a fair and free election for the President of the United States in 2020?
Yes, the election was certified. I think that book is closed. And I think it's important that we move forward. Something that's unsettling to me is when this becomes the focus of our local legislators. Because if we're talking about something that happened in the past, what are we not doing? We're not talking about what's going on in the present, what we're doing in the future. And my focus as a legislator, as your senator, is this district. It's what's happening here. And if I am focused on those types of issues, I'm not doing my job. So I am laser focused on doing the best possible job that I can as the senator for the 56th Legislative District. That's my commitment. That's what I have sworn to do, and that's what I will always do.
Do you support the Juneteenth federal holiday?
Absolutely. You know, I think it's a celebration of where we've come, and you know, it's a testament to the resilience, you know, of our country. You know, I had a chance to celebrate in Alton this year, and I was profoundly grateful for that chance. You know, to be embraced by the Alton community, to be able to go and to learn, you know, about personal struggles and, you know, the challenges that people have had to overcome to get where we are today. As a nation, we mustn't forget our history. You know, a nation that forgets where it came from, when it forgets, you know, the mistakes that we've made throughout our nation's history, we're destined to repeat them. So it's important that we embrace our imperfections, that we embrace our history, and that we move forward boldly. And that's what we do, right? I mean, that's what we do as a nation, that's what we do as a community. My travels throughout the district, I see a resilient people. I see people that come together, especially when times are tough. And that's something that makes me very proud and excited as a legislator. So again, to answer your question, I absolutely support that holiday. And I'm grateful to have been able to celebrate it with special friends this year. I look forward to celebrating it in the future as well.
Next question, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, signed into law by Governor Pritzker a little over a year ago on September 15th of 2021, provides $80 million a year for the workforce and for contractor development programs located in workforce hubs, which are primarily Black and brown communities or communities which have historically faced economic and environmental barriers. The Downstate Caucus of the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition successfully fought to get 2 downstate hubs, one of which includes Alton, as we were left behind in earlier energy policy. We need our local elected officials to make sure municipalities, community groups, and local organizations know about these grants and how to access them. What steps will you take to make sure our district gets the benefit of this program?
Things like this, you know, being accessible, you know, showing up and inviting people, being transparent in what you're doing as a legislator. You know, one of the things that I set out to do from the moment that I was sworn in and listened to see in the Senate was to be out in the community, to engage, to invite people to my office, to have an open house, to introduce people to who I am. There should be no veil of secrecy surrounding your legislators. You should know who they are, and they should know you. But that comes with the responsibility. You don't just have to come to me. I need to come to you. And what I would ask everybody to do is pay attention, because I work for you. Legislators work for you. It's not the other way around. So if your candidate or if your legislator is not out knocking on doors in your neighborhood, if you don't see them in your neighborhood except when they're asking for something, that's a problem. And I can promise you as your senator, it's not the way it's going to be with me. It's my obligation to be in the community, to be transparent, to inform our stakeholders when grant opportunities are available, to communicate with them, and then equally, in my travels as I go out and I tour the district, one thing that I always do is I always leave this one ask, and that is to engage with my staff. Engage with me. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're going through. Give me your email address so we can communicate when such opportunities present themselves. That's what my job is as your senator, is to keep you informed, to get rid of bureaucratic red tape that throttles and keeps things from progressing. My job is to get rid of those, to make it easier for you. I work for you, and that is what a legislator should do. That is what I am trying to do, and that's what I will always try to do as your senator.
Do you support the Workers' Rights Amendment, or do you support right-to-work laws?
I support the Workers' Right Amendment. As I said, I'm many things. One of those is a union member. And I'd like to tell you just a real quick story. I was a policeman in Missouri for the first couple of years of my career. I was making a poverty wage, my equipment was poor, and I didn't have the tools and resources that I needed to effectively do my job, but the danger was still omnipresent. When I got hired in 1999 at the Madison County Sheriff's Office, my pay was much better. I had better benefits. I had a sustainable wage that I could raise my family on. The difference was unions. That's what it did for my family, and that's something that I'm profoundly grateful for. Now, we as legislators, we come and we go, right? And with that being said, this is a vote for the working man and woman. This protects their right to collective bargain. This protects their right to safer work environments, to where legislators can't interrupt that or interfere with that. Because there are forces within our country, within our area, that don't want unions. And I believe that everybody deserves to make a fair wage. Everybody deserves to have good benefits. Everybody deserves to work in a safe work environment. I absolutely support that, and I always will, and I hope that you will too.
The state of Illinois has its first infrastructure bill in a decade, and there are federal funds for infrastructure maintenance and improvements. What do you see as infrastructure priorities for our district, and how would you make sure these priorities become reality?
That's a great question, and there's something I want everybody to know in this district, and it's what we have going for it. We are primed to be a hub of industry. We have a viable waterway that goes right from the Gulf of Mexico right into the center of this district of Granite City. We have railways that carry commodities and goods and people through our area. The Merchant Bridge was just renovated and just opened. It actually doubled the capacity of our railway system. That brings goods and commodities that we need here. We have an intersecting interstate system that comes right through our district. We've all seen the warehouses. We've seen the industry that we have here, the steel mill, the refineries. And I'd be remiss not to mention the greatest workforce that not only in the state of Illinois, but I would say in the country. It's all right here. The highways, again, we have to invest in, it's previously been said. We have to ensure that the money is making it to those, that we fortify our infrastructure to where we have sustainable highways and railways that are built for the future, to ensure that those commodities and goods get to this area and into the hands of Illinois consumers in a timely manner. That's going to drive prices down. That's what we have to do. Invest in Illinois, invest in America, invest in our infrastructure. That's going to set us up for a better tomorrow.
Do you maintain a diverse staff with regard to age, race, and gender?
So I inherited a staff, and they are absolutely tremendous. We can always do better. We do have a wide variety of age, and we work with all races, obviously. But I will always advocate for that within my staff and those that I work with in the community. You need that. You absolutely need. We talked about perspective. In order for me to do my job, I'm only as good as my network. Any legislator is. I'm only as good as those that I'm surrounded by. Just because you become an elected official doesn't mean that you're now more enlightened. It's not the way that it works. You know, I've told you on many things. I'm a dad, I'm a son, I'm a union member, I'm a police officer. But just when I became a senator, I was not more enlightened to things. But I have a formidable network around me. People from different races, different religions, different ages. And that makes me better. And that is something that I will always embrace, something I will always advocate for, and something that I'll always surround myself with.
Thank you. Industry is changing before our eyes, consolidating, modernizing, and in some cases disappearing entirely. This includes mining and steel industries. Do you believe that we should use our resources to try to maintain the status quo, or do you favor using our resources to move workers into jobs of the present and the future? If the former, please state what role you think government should take in attempting to maintain the status quo. If the latter, what should the state do to support workers whose jobs are disappearing through no fault of their own, and young people that are just now entering the workforce?
So that's a great question, and we have to be forward thinking. We have to be thinking to the future. We have to plan ahead strategically. That's what we have to do to survive. That's absolutely imperative. But we don't do so haphazardly. We don't do so while biting the hand that feeds us. We have to ensure that we're calling upon the resources we currently have at our disposal while we are planning and while we are forging ahead. We have to make sure that our formidable workforce that I've already cited, that we're cross-training them, that we are getting them the skills that are required to where we can step into that next generation of technology. You know, as we do enter upon burgeoning new energy sources and alternatives, that we have a workforce that is trained to meet that demand, that will ensure sustained progress and success for our working families, good paying jobs, and that will also attract business to this area. If we already have the best workforce in the country, but if we continue to cross-train them, if we prepare them for the new technologies that are coming, that's going to bring those businesses, those that are embracing technologies, the change makers, the innovators, that will bring them to this area. And that will, again, provide for more of a better life for everybody involved.
These are the questions from the audience, and there was one where we couldn't read the writing very well, so we're kind of paraphrasing it, and we're just going to ask the question, do you support? This is the first of the audience questions. What specifically would you do to revise or repeal the SAFE-T Act?
That's a great question. Everybody here, I think at this point, knows I'm a police officer. 25 years is what I've done. I have 3 degrees in criminal justice. I teach at the police academy. I'm on the Criminal Justice Curriculum Advisory Board for St. Louis Community College. I'm an FBI Academy graduate. There is no one within the General Assembly that is better suited to deal with or navigate the SAFE-T Act than me. I've been on a committee in Madison County now for a year, working with judges, working with our probation department, working with our stakeholders. How are we going to navigate this? So the first thing is we have to bring all of those stakeholders to the table. We have to have somebody in Springfield that understands what it actually means to be a police officer, what it actually means to do the job. Somebody that knows the inner workings of the judicial system from the inside. Those are all things that I have done. While I am not perfect, this is one area that I do happen to know very well, and I would argue better than anybody else in the General Assembly. So what I plan to do is bring that skill set, bring that expertise to the Senate. One thing that I've always been able to do is bring people together, negotiate, compromise. I think I'm a reasonable guy. I know what is needed to fix the glaring issues within the SAFE-T Act, and that's what I intend to do. My son is a police officer. My brother's son, he too is a police officer. For me, law enforcement's a family business. Now, law enforcement is not perfect. I'm not going to claim that it is, but I do believe that it's getting better every day, and I do believe it will continue to do so. I'm not going to tell you that everything in the SAFE-T Act is a bad thing. That's just not true. Are there things that need to be tweaked and fixed to ensure that we have the safest community possible while supporting our heroes in blue? Absolutely. As your senator, I'm absolutely committed to doing that. I'm committed to an equitable criminal justice system, fully funded and resourced and well-trained police officers. And I am here tonight to tell you that there is no one better suited for that task than myself.
Another member of our audience asks, I'm excited to have a member of law enforcement running as a Democrat. It's important that we improve our image on policing. I've heard you echo the phrase, I am not a regular Democrat, I am a workers' Democrat. Although I like the phrasing, I'm afraid of what that actually means. There are central tenets of the Democratic Party. What makes you a Democrat?
That's a great question. And, when I say that I'm not your usual Democrat, what I've already kind of just shared, there is just no one like me in the General Assembly. It's not to say that I'm special, because I'm not. I'm just a man. But I do believe my perspective, I do believe that my body of work does make me a bit of an anomaly within the General Assembly. I am certain that I don't fit the mold that most perceive. I'm not a career politician. In fact, I shudder to say that I'm a politician at all. I am many things. Politician, I'm not sure about it. I guess I am. But, people try to fit you into a square. We all do it, right? In all facets of our life. We try to put people into a square that makes us feel comfortable. And the fact of the matter is, you're going to have a very difficult time placing me in one of those squares. I would say that I'm not your average Democrat. I'm not your average senator. Not to say that I'm special, because I'm not. But I would say that I am very different just based on the things that I've already cited. And again, if you try to fit me into a box or a square, I think that you will also struggle with that. And what I'd like to say is that I believe in people. I believe in the working men and women of this district. That's how I was raised. I know what it means to need help. I've gotten that help throughout my life. And I also know that what hard work, what that can do for you, what it can do for your family, what the possibilities are. That's why I'm a Democrat.
Next question, what actions other than law enforcement should be done to improve the administration and reputation of our state of Illinois?
So, first off, I think that we all have an onus to hold our public officials accountable. We, as legislators, have to be transparent. We have to be beyond reproach. I think it's already been said by several people today that we've turned into a society that is, that lives vicariously through Facebook and social media. And that creates a lot of tension, a lot of turmoil. And some of it, is centered on us up here as candidates, whether it be fairly or unfairly. But I think that we as voters have to have our voices heard. We have to show up at the polling place. When someone betrays the public trust, we can't vote him back in, we gotta get him out. That is all of our obligations, not just one of us. It's all of us. We have to get back to taking care of people, taking care of one another. And I don't know about you all, but I'm tired of hearing people point the finger at others and casting blame. We've got to figure this out. We've got to come together. We have got to work together, Republicans and Democrats. We can't do it separately. We have got to come together. And I think that when we start doing that, not only in Illinois, but the United States, I think that we're going to be in a much better place, because divided we are weak. But when we come together, we are formidable, we are strong. I think that we're strong. I believe in people. I believe in all of you. And I think that that is the course to changing our image, is us holding up our end of the bargain and working together.
There's one final audience question. This is for the entire Senate and representative candidates. What are you doing or going to do about homelessness in the community?
So that's a great question. And I've used this word before, and I apologize for saying it again, perspective. As jail administrator, it has afforded me some gifts that I would not have foreseen until I got into the position. And when you're in a jail setting, a correctional setting, you see what is really going on within your community. And I thought that I knew as a police officer 25 years, but it shed some insight that I'd like to share with you. Number one, homelessness. We've got a real issue in our community. We do. And I see it in the jail every day. We have people coming in that are living on the street, and oftentimes they're suffering from mental illness, which is my second point. It's an epidemic, not just in our district, but in our state. The state has failed us. We need to do more to get mental health resources in our community, because these individuals end up in a rotating door of recidivism where they end up within the judicial system. We must do more to help with mental illness. That's also going to be connected to our homelessness. And then that takes me into the last part of it, is our drug addiction issues within not just our district, but state and country. We have to do more to get more community outreach, community resources. The state can't do it alone. The state can do much better than what it's doing. And as your senator, I intend to hold the state to the fire. For those of you that may follow me, you may know that one of the first stops that I made as your senator was to Alton Mental Health, because I wanted to see behind the curtain. I wanted to know what's going on there. Because I've seen it from the county jail administrator side of things. I wanted to see it from that side. And I'm absolutely committed to ensuring that the state fixes this issue that has been created due to neglect. We deserve better. And as your senator, I'm going to zealously advocate for that.
Would one of the representatives like to come and answer the question about homelessness?
I agree with what Senator Tharp said, and I would add that there's a lot of things, frankly, that the state is failing its people on, and taking care of our homeless people is one of them. So we actually have to take care of them, and we have organizations and groups throughout the district that help do that. So as a representative and just as a human being and in my personal life, I support those organizations that are looking for ways to get people into not just short-term hotel stays, but into long-term housing. So support those that support the homeless is what I would say.
Without trying to repeat anything that the senator and the representative said, I take upon my experience as a mayor, and one of the things in our district, we have so many communities that are separated by alleys or streets, and what I see as mayor is the homeless population would just move from community to community, and then no one would really take ownership of it, because if you waited long enough, they'd be gone. We're going to have a more of a regional attack. We're going to have to get resources, information to the police department. And we talked about I don't know of a group that has had more put on their plate in the last decade than police officers and teachers. We are asking these people to do things. You can clap for teachers. I know that's but also police officers. We're asking them to show up at an incident and try to determine, is it a drug issue, is it a mental illness issue? And what we have to do is not reduce the number of policemen, but we have to add to the resources that they can bring in. We need professionals to be at the scene, evaluating the homeless or the drug impaired, and we need to get them into the proper treatment that they need. And that's imperative, but one of the challenges is it has to be regional. I'm telling you, the same people that East Alton deals with is the same people that Wood River deals with, is the same people that Alton deals with, and they move around, and that's why they're not getting the treatment they have. 30 seconds, thank you very much.
board of directors of the Alton, or I'm sorry, it's not Alton, the YWCA of Southwestern Illinois has voted to endorse the Workers' Rights Amendment. So even though we are not allowed to back a specific candidate, we can take a stand on issues. And so Dee Evans and Ruth Maskow are going to give a presentation in favor of the Workers' Rights Amendment. And if you all want to come down to leave the stage, that's fine. We really, again, appreciate all four of you coming.
Hello, good evening. My name is Ruth Maskow, and I am here tonight with my friend Dee Evans to talk to you about the Workers' Rights Amendment. You've heard a little bit about that already, and some people may not know what it is and what it all entails. So I'm just going to summarize it a little bit here. This is the lovely document that Debbie Bing Mendoza put in newspapers and things like that. So it's available all over the place, and it's also available on Debbie Bing Mendoza's website through the county government. So all of this information is there. Briefly, the ballot, this is a sample ballot. And the very first thing you're going to see on your ballot, how many of you have already voted? No? Yes? Okay. The very top of the ballot is the constitutional amendment, the very first thing. And all it says is that employees will have the fundamental right to organize and bargain collectively through representatives of their own choosing, for the purpose of negotiating wages, hours, and working conditions, and to protect their economic welfare and their safety at work. So you can imagine the hotline people, the child abuse people are very interested in seeing that this gets passed. Think of the social worker who was killed. I don't know if you heard about it. She was killed on the line in the line of duty last year, a couple years ago. So her safety is covered by this amendment. So I'm going to have Dee Evans ask me some questions about the Workers' Rights Amendment, and we'll just answer them.
Ruth, I got this card in the mail, and it says Amendment 1, Workers' Rights, will raise my property taxes $2,100. I'm against that. Is it true? Will it raise my property taxes?
The Workers' Rights Amendment only says, the Workers' Rights Amendment says that it only addresses the ability to organize and bargain collectively through representatives of your choosing. It doesn't address property taxes at all, anywhere in this amendment.
The other thing I got in the mail was something that said, I will have to join a union, that everybody will if this amendment passes. Is that true?
No. You don't have to join a union. No. Even if you work for a place that has the union, you don't have to join.
Our Illinois Constitution already provides a
because there are individuals in state government, in the legislature, that would like to have some of those protections decreased. And we are of the opinion that it's dangerous to do so. It's unsafe. We are very strongly believe that these protections need to remain.
The other thing I read is that if this workers' rights bill passes, that teachers and other people can bargain to leave out all employee background checks. I don't want teachers teaching my kids with no background checks. Is that true?
The Workers' Rights Amendment doesn't say anything about background checks. It only says that we have the ability to organize and bargain collectively through representatives of our choosing.
Ruth, that's all my questions, but I thank you for giving me the answers because I want all employees in Illinois to have the right to bargain and I want them to be safe.
Thank you. I'm real interested in safety too. So I'm going to take this. How many of you got one of these things in the mail? I'm going to tear it up because it's the one that says your property taxes are going up, and that has nothing to do with the Workers' Rights Amendment. So when you go to the voting booth, the very first thing I'll remind you on your ballot is the constitutional amendment. And there's a lot of gobbledygook wording that at the bottom it says, are you for the proposed amendment of Section 25 to the article of the Illinois Constitution? And if you are, you check yes, and if you're not, you say no. We hope that you vote